What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. The mailman just arrived with a figure that fits nicely with what you see in front of you. And I have been really excited about getting this figure. A friend of mine on Facebook reached out to me. He decided to sell off his collection, and I picked up some really beautiful items from him. One of them just arrived today. The other four are, God help me. The other four are on payment plans, and I'll have those towards the end of September or beginning of October. I'm not going to spoil what those other four are, but I can tell you they are extremely epic, okay? And so this is the fifth figure, and the one I bought immediately because it is so hard to find. And he really gave me a very fair price on it, but it is a Bossk figure. And here it is. It is a Spanish PBP Bossk with the fat lips. An extremely difficult figure to find. I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 examples that are graded that have sold over the last few years. There was an AFA 60 that sold last year for $660. If that gives you any indication of how expensive these figures are. But they are just absolutely awesome figures. These were made in Spain. They're PBP, which is the company that made them. You know, basically the very early Spanish figures were made by a company called POC or Poch or Poch. I don't know how you pronounce it. I always called it POC, but Blacked Out Ewoks calls it Pooch or Poch. So I don't know how it's pronounced, but I can tell you that they are awesome figures. Their very early examples had imported parts from Hong Kong that they then painted themselves. And after they proved to be successful, and after the Pooch merged with PBP, they started producing those towards the middle of the 1980s themselves. And so the early examples are noted by some really unique color variations. The early example of this figure by Pooch has the toxic green limbs that I've talked about in other videos. Extremely expensive. I mean, multiple thousands of dollars. So this is a later example. This is what's classified as a PBP hybrid figure between after post-merger between Pooch and PBP. But he is noted for his fat lips, and so he's called the Fat Lips Bossk. You can see that right there. The darker green skin color, which is, and I'll do a comparison here in a second. But this is just an absolutely one-of-a-kind figure that, I've been looking for one forever. And, he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm selling off my collection. Is there anything you want? And this is the very first item. I said, I want your Fat Lips Bossk. And he gave me a very fair price on it. And I'm extremely excited about it. And it's UKG graded. A lot of these, as I mentioned in a different video, a lot of the PBP and Pooch figures and no COO figures are graded by UKG. You don't see a lot of them graded by AFA just because, most of the figures are over in Spain and Europe and England and things like that. So it's very rare that you see AFA graded examples. But so this is a UKG graded example, and I mean, it's just truly the best Bossk in my collection now. The only one that's more rare in terms of production Bossk obviously is that light green, toxic green limbs. That's the color of this logo, as I've talked about in other videos. But let's take a look at the grading label. Bossk Fat Lips PBP 1980, no COO, figure and paint 85%. This is a near mint example of the PBP Fat Lips Bossk. And good luck finding another one. I mean, I've been looking for one of these for years. And like I said, the only one I've seen graded on eBay was an AFA 60 grade that sold for well above what it should have sold for. But this figure is just incredible. I cannot thank him enough. I'm going to keep him anonymous, but I really thank him for selling this to me, because this is just one of those figures that I've been dying to get in my collection. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to move the camera just a little bit closer here because I did not handle the transition well here. But I'm going to show what this guy looks like next to the standard Hong Kong. I've got 2 standard Hong Kong figures here. One being the flat paint limbs with the olive head, and this is the glossy limbs. So this, you know, as you can see, he's got kind of glossy limbs, but you can see how different the mouths are on these guys. You know, it looks like the head is not quite as glossy as the Hong Kong figure, but you know, it's just an incredible figure, though. I mean, look at that paint. He looks like he is been taking too many Botox injections. Yeah, I think I mentioned he looks like the cross of the illegitimate love child of Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy. I mean, he's got Miss Piggy's lips and Kermit the Frog's face, and I could not be happier. Look at the eye difference too. It's pretty amazing. The difference in the eyes there. It's a very kind of a darker red to it, and the skin, it looks like it's maybe a little bit more yellow. But you know, the limb difference is pretty dramatic. You can see that there. But just an amazing figure. I mean, I never thought I'd own this guy. The other noticeable thing is that the yellow in his jumpsuit is quite a bit lighter yellow. You know, this is almost like a lemon yellow. This is more of a pale yellow. The black bands around his shoulders is quite a bit wider. You know, I just can't believe I own this figure. I mean, I never thought I'd find one that's this high of a grade. I mean, I would have been happy with that 60 grade, but I just didn't have the money for it at the time, and I probably would have bought it if I had. But, you know, I just got completely lucky with this. Oh, the other noticeable thing is the neck collar is quite a bit more red than the Hong Kong. The Hong Kong is almost more of an orange red, orange tints to the collar. This one's it's more of a bright red, but just unbelievable. I'm so excited to have this guy. And here's the back of the figure here. You know, just it's pretty dramatic, the dark paint color difference. The weapon looks, for the most part, the same. I wanted to see if there's any differences there. It looks, you know, I'm pretty sure that the weapons are basically the same. I haven't dove into Imperial Gunnery to see what the differences are there, but this is the Spanish Fat Lips Bossk. It's finally in my collection, and so we got the 3 here to look at there. It's just an amazing figure, just an amazing figure. You know, it's just awesome to look at. I'm looking at it this for the first time, just as you guys are. I unboxed it right before I started this camera, so you'll notice too that the head kind of sits a lot higher on the neck. So he's got a little bit of a gap there, and that's common. That's not just like this. That's not a factory defect or anything. I've seen a number of these Fat Lips Bosks, you know, just photos and in some of the PBP Facebook groups, and all of the heads seem to sit a little bit higher there. You can kind of see the gap between the neck collar and his head there. There you go. That's a nice angle there, versus the Hong Kong where it sits much more snug. So going back to the head color, it's weird. I guess it's maybe a little bit more, a little less olive and a little bit more yellow, and not as glossy. And then the eye color, and then obviously the lips are quite a bit different. But you know, it looks like the ridges on the top of the head are a little bit sharper, maybe. You know, looking at this one, they look a little. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep the camera focused. They look a little softer if you look there, versus the ridges on the top of his head, which are you know, they appear to be a little bit sharper. If I can get my idiotic camera to focus, there we go. So it looks just a little bit, you know, less dull than the Hong Kong figure. So, but you know, obviously the most noticeable things are the dark limbs, and then the mask, or the lipstick on Bossk's face. But how cool is that? You know, I don't own a lot of PBP figures, but this is one that I'm really excited to have and to share with you guys. And so my Bossk collection is not huge, but it's definitely getting there. I've got you know, a couple of Mexican bootlegs that, well, I've got one here that I've already shown you. I've got one in grading that'll be back next month. So, but this is kind of, I would think, other than maybe some Carter DSBs, this will certainly be the rarest Spanish figure. You know, this figure will be the rarest loose graded figure in my Bossk collection. Those toxic limbs are well outside my pocketbook, but how awesome is he? Really excited to show it to you. I'm sorry this video is kind of me blabbering. I just literally started the camera after I took it out of the wrapper, but a really cool Spanish Bossk figure with the fat lips. Now there was a version of this figure without the fat lips that was a later incarnation of the PBP figure. They came a little bit later, but the toxic limbs kind of came first, to my knowledge anyway. Those are the true POC Bosks, since they used imported Hong Kong parts, but painted them kind of with their crazy POC colors, and they're kind of known for poor sonic welds, which is what the early POCs were known for. And then these kind of came out around the merger of POC and PBP, kind of 82-ish, 83-ish, and then post-merger where the company used the PBP logo solely instead of POC. Those had the Bosks without the fat lips. I believe that's correct. I don't have there's a great book on that if you're interested in collecting these, there's a book by Javier Ruy Lopez on the PBP POC made in Spain that has a great catalog and photos of those figures. If you're looking for a video on that, go to the Blacked Out Ewoks channel. I've been watching that this morning as I've been getting ready for this guy to arrive. But he's awesome. I mean, it's just a really incredible figure, and I'm super excited to have it. That's all I really had, and thank you for watching.